The Royal Hospital Kilmainham is Ireland's oldest classical public building. From the stunning architecture and the beautiful landscape gardens to the collection of modern art within its walls, it is one of Dublin's most impressive landmarks. Michael Hardwick is the heritage mediator for the museum now situated on its grounds.
Here we are at the Royal Hospital Kilmainham. It's currently the home of the Irish Museum of Modern Art. The buildings here, built originally in 1680 as a hospital for soldiers of the army in Ireland. It was built under the auspices of James Butler, the Duke of Ormond. He was Viceroy at the time, under a charter from King Charles II. But the history of the site here goes back much further than that. The first recording in this area is a monastery in the year 606, founded by Saint Maignan. So the Church of Maignan, Kilmainham, became Kilmainham. That's the origin of the name of the whole area. That wouldn't have survived the Viking invasion later on. The next item in the history of the place was the founding of a priory here for the Knights Hospitallers. The land here was given to the Knights Hospitallers by the Earl of Pembroke, better known as Strongbow. And they became very powerful in Ireland. This was almost, you could call it the head office of the Knights Hospitallers. And it survived up to the time of the Reformation. It was dissolved at the time of the Reformation. And when they came to build the Royal Hospital here, all that was left of what was then known as the Castle of Kilmainham was a ruin. And some of the stonework from the ruin of the old priory was used in the construction of part of the building here.
The style of the building is Les Invalides, with a formal facade and an elegant courtyard. The gardens incorporate features of French formal gardens with plants, sculptures and furniture similar to those in vogue at the time the hospital was built.
In 1680, it was a relatively quiet time in Ireland, and there were a lot of old soldiers still in barracks around the country. And James Butler's idea was to take them out of the barracks around the country and bring them to a place where they could end their days in relative comfort. As I say, he got a charter from King Charles II, and he hired the architect Sir William Robinson, to design and build the hospital. It took 4 years for the main part of the building to be built. It's around a courtyard, built around a courtyard. The north range comprises the chapel, the Great Hall and the Master's Quarters. But the other three ranges, which is now occupied by the Irish Museum of Modern Art, was where the soldiers lived.
The modern art that is housed within the walls of IMA contains various pieces from many of the world's top artists. There is even an old comic book.
As I say, the North Range, which comprises the chapel, the Great Hall and the Master's Quarters. The chapel has a wonderful Baroque ceiling, probably the only Baroque style ceiling in Ireland. And there are big garlands of flowers, fruit, vegetables. Most unusual in a chapel of that period. I mean, we're talking about 1680, 1687. The chapel was consecrated in 1687 and dedicated to the memory of King Charles I as king and martyr. He was the King of England who was executed during the English Civil War. The window here, which includes the coats of arms of various masters and deputy masters of the hospital. On the top left-hand side of this window is the coat of arms of James Butler, the Duke of Ormond, the man responsible for the founding of the hospital. And of course, the Butlers came to Ireland originally as part of the Norman invasion, and when they did, the family name was Fitzwalter, but they got a title, Chief Butler of Ireland, Chief Butler to the King. So they changed the name, because they were French at the time, to Le Bottier and then to Butler, and that's the name they go by today. And in the coat of arms, there are many branches of the Butler family, and they'll all have derivatives of that coat of arms, but they'll all have the top right-hand segment, the red background with the 3 gold cups, signifying their position as Chief Butler to the King. In the Great Hall of the Royal Hospital, where the soldiers gathered for meals and entertainment, and when I say Great Hall, it really is a great hall. But included in it still is a series of portraits, a unique series of portraits, because they were all painted specifically for that room. And with the vagaries of Irish history, it's almost a miracle that they're all still there. They're all of people who were involved in the governance of the hospital during the initial period. There's a portrait of King Charles II, another of King William III, the victor at the Battle of the Boyne.
The Royal Hospital Kilmainham is a breathtaking combination of both historical and modern art, tucked away in the heart of Dublin City.